have the impending or the threatened listed, then you're going to go back to the condition that actually existed. You don't have a code for the described as pending or threatened. For example, you've got a patient that has an impending gangrene diagnosis, but the gangrene was averted. They didn't have it because they got prompt treatment. Because the gangrene didn't occur and there's no index entry for impending gangrene, then you're just going to give a code for the presenting situation, such as the redness or the swelling. Okay, let's break that down. The patient comes in the door, and from all their signs and symptoms, it looks like that little toe on their foot is going to be gangrenous. It's not gangrene yet, but it's impending or threatened. Well, because we were able to give antibiotics so promptly, we were able to stop the progress, and it didn't actually turn into gangrene. So we're going to go to gangrene, and we're going to look for a code that says threatened or impending. If there is one, then we're going to code it as a threatened or impending. But if there's not one, we can't code it as gangrene because gangrene didn't happen. We can't code it as threatened or impending because there's not a code for that. So the only thing we have left to do is code it to the thing that we absolutely know that happened. And that would be the signs and symptoms that the patient came in with, such as the redness or the swelling. And if there's anything that you can remember, never code anybody something they don't actually have, except in the case of when it's stated as possible or questionable. Always back up and code what you absolutely know they did have. Are you with me? Now, I talked out of both sides of my mouth. I told you always, and then I told you except. Never code anybody with something that they don't actually have. If you're not sure, back up and code to the signs and symptoms they do have. The only exception to that rule is when it is stated as being a probable or questionable or suspected diagnosis on an inpatient admission, and it's at the time of discharge. And that throws it into the rule out scenario where we code it as if it actually existed. All right, do you ever code the same diagnosis more than once for the same encounter? No. You only record it one time. So let's say that I have got a fractured femur of the left leg, and I've got the exact same fracture of the right leg. Do I code it twice? Nope. Each unique ICD-9 diagnosis code may be reported only once for an encounter. This applies both to bilateral conditions and to two different conditions classified to the same diagnosis code. So should you ever have the same code listed more than once for the same encounter of a patient? No. No. No need to. So in other words, there is no way in ICD-9-CM to show left leg versus right leg or left hand versus right hand. Now, in the future, that may change with ICD-10, but right now you can't do it. So you would automatically know not to put the same code down twice for the same encounter. Now, is it the same code when there's a difference in the fifth digit? No. If I've got 729.31 and 729.32, can I have those on the same? I can have those because those are two different codes. They are, even though they're different only by one digit, they still are different codes. Everybody okay? All right, we're going to start with late effects. We've gone over late effects a little bit before, but late effects are tricky. Now, I'm going to give you my definition of late effects, and mine is not, it's long, but it's not quite as complex, I think. A late effect is something that the patient has now. Something the patient has now. That's a result of a previous illness or injury. But the patient no longer has it in an acute state. So there's three components to the way I word it. Something the patient has right now as a result of a previous illness or injury, but they no longer have that previous illness or injury in an acute state. Now, the definition that they give you. A late effect is a residual condition, something you have now as a result of something else, that remains after the termination of the acute phase of an illness or injury. Okay, so either definition you prefer is all right, but let's talk about what it is. I was in an accident 6 years ago, let's say, in which I was standing between two automobiles. One decided to go forward at exactly the same time one decided to go backward, and they crushed my leg, both legs. All right, as a result of those crushing fractures that I got and the pinnings that had to be done, now maybe my legs are shorter than they used to be. You with me? So now I've got shortening of legs due to previous crushing injury of legs. So what do I have right now? Shortening. What did I have that I no longer have in an acute phase? Crushing. That's exactly right. So I code, what do I code now? Do I code the shortening? Do I code the fractures of my legs? No, why not? That already happened. That was 6 years ago. Do I code the crushing of my legs? I might, but I'm not going to code it as if it got crushed right now. I'll have it as a late effect of a crush. All right, because my legs might be shortened because they got crushed in an automobile accident. Your legs might be crushed because somebody took a baseball bat and beat you over the legs. We still have shortened legs. We still have late effect of crushing injuries, but mine's the late effect of an automobile accident. Yours is the late effect of a baseball bat beating you. So the general codes are going to be the same, but we can make a distinction as whether it's a current condition or the late. We do very special